Let's welcome in now a friend of the briefing, former Trump campaign advisor Roger Stone. He's the author of a lot of great books, including The Clintons' War on Women, which chronicles the testimony of actual Epstein victims. He did the hard work about a decade ago, so he knows who was and who was not on Epstein Island, and we'll get into that in a moment. Welcome back, first of all, Roger.
Ed?
How about the golden age of America to kick it off tonight? GDP up, tariff revenue soaring, over $100 billion this month. The president just said moments ago he thinks next month will be over $200 billion, and he gets a 12 million % return on investment from one trip to Scotland.
Well, plus, and most importantly, inflation, which his critics said would go through the roof because of his tough stance on tariff negotiations, remains historically low. The dollar remains strong. Unemployment remains low. So the Panicans, I think, have been disproved. Trump has a winning formula here. Cut the biggest tax cut on the American people in American history. We're renewing that in January through the big, beautiful bill. An enormous amount of regulation, deregulation, I guess I should say. Also embracing cryptocurrency, and the trade negotiations have worked out extremely well. We have a huge influx between the tax cuts, which will actually generate a spike in revenues. Sorry about that, Robert Reich, and the tariff deals. Yeah. We are awash in new cash, exactly as Trump predicted.
Seems like something worth talking about, and voters care about an economic recovery like this. It was what largely the last election was settled over. And yet, as I noted at the top, Democrats just want to keep talking about Epstein. You literally wrote the book on this years ago. Do Democrats have more to worry about this scandal than Republicans?
Now, there's no question. If you look at the FAA manifest, you can see that Bill Clinton utilized Epstein's plane, was on it 26 times. If you read the sworn testimony of Virginia Roberts Giuffre and several others who sued Epstein, Bill Clinton was also on Epstein Island and attended parties there. Donald Trump never went to the island, and the few times he was on Epstein's plane, it went from Teterboro in New Jersey, right outside New York City, to Palm Beach on a Friday, returned on a Sunday. And the Donald's wife, Marla Maples, at the time, and his daughter Tiffany and a nanny were with them. So yeah, there's no evidence of wrongdoing. Virginia Roberts Giuffre says that in her sworn testimony. This is a nothing burger. But the real irony is it's Democrats like Dick Durbin in the Senate who were fighting the release of the Epstein documents just a few years ago.
That's right. They repeatedly refused the push to release that. One more on this. The CNN and others keep pushing. Well, Ghislaine Maxwell wants to testify to Congress. Do you think there's anything at all that President Trump would have to worry about there? Because you just mentioned Virginia Giuffre, one of the victims that we all know who has now recently died. There's a deposition that you know is floating around social media. She gave many, in which she's asked about Donald Trump, repeatedly says, I never saw him do anything wrong, never abused by him. Is that a real document? And do you believe the president has anything at all beyond that to worry about?
Nothing whatsoever. What I think is strange is that Damian Williams, the U.S. attorney under Joe Biden, never questioned Ghislaine Maxwell during her prosecution. How is that even possible? In both that case and the Diddy case, which ended up being prosecuted under Trump but began under Biden, they're both charged with conspiracy, but no other co-conspirators are mentioned in their cases. How very odd.
Yes. Speaking of conspiracies, let's talk about something the mainstream media will not. Allies of Barack Obama, as you know full well, may have been involved in a massive cover-up attempt that did not work. We learned today, breaking, the FBI Director Kash Patel discovered apparently thousands of classified documents related to the Trump Russiagate nonsense, and they were in burn bags. For people who don't know Washington, all these offices in Washington have burn bags. You put a document in there that may have been a simple document, and you've got so many pieces of paper created, you put it in a burn bag and they burn it at night. Someone wanted to burn these documents, Roger, and someone else or another group of people inside the FBI said, no, let's put this in a room somewhere. Maybe it will be discovered. Will this blow the case open in terms of the conspiracy against the president?
Well, I believe we learned from documents that were declassified by Tulsi Gabbard only days ago that the FBI was poised to spread the fake Russian collusion hoax even prior to their opening of the counterintelligence operation crossfire hurricane. I do think it's ironic. This speaks to how awful both Christopher Wray and James Comey were as FBI directors. But at the same time, Senator Tom Cotton wants to take the declassification function of the Director of National Intelligence and shift it over to the FBI, which I think is a terrible idea. If that were the case, then right now, Tulsi Gabbard would not have been able to spill the beans. And let me say this. This is not speculation. This is not investigative journalism. These are declassified government documents that prove that Obama, Biden, Rice, Comey, Brennan, Rosenstein, they were all in a corrupt conspiracy, the greatest single dirty trick, Ed, in American political history. An abuse of power that makes Watergate look like, well, small potatoes.
A lot of people accused you previously of dirty tricks. So the big question, the final one, are people going to be prosecuted? Because a lot of people are watching and say, I've heard this before, Roger.
Well, this is a question for Attorney General Pam Bondi. I mean, I think that Tulsi Gabbard has certainly turned over everything necessary. There's a legal question, a legitimate legal question about whether Obama, the former president, can be prosecuted. David Schoen, the criminal defense lawyer, pointed out that he could still theoretically at least be impeached, in which case he would lose that immunity that the Supreme Court awarded all former presidents in a recent decision. But at a minimum, Biden, Rice, Comey, Brennan, the rest of this criminal gang, the people who tried to destroy my life, tried to destroy General Flynn's life, tried to destroy President Donald Trump's life, they should all be prosecuted.
Absolutely. Roger Stone, thanks for your time. Check him out on Rumble, Substack, everywhere else. Thank you, sir.
Great to be with you, Ed.